Imagine a force so powerful it could literally shatter the earth, contained by nothing but the matted hair of a god. Now imagine that exact same, unimaginable force as a delicate, fragile ecosystem, literally struggling to survive modern foot traffic. Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're taking an epic journey from the cosmic mythology of the Ganges River to the snowy, breathtaking reality of the high Himalayas. We're going to dive deep into Gangotri. It's this incredible place where ancient, unshakable belief systems and modern environmental conservation just completely collide in the most fascinating ways you can imagine. To really make sense of this place, we're going to break it down into 5 key stages. We'll start with the descent of Ganga, move on to the sacred Gangotri Temple, follow the pilgrim's journey, look at a fragile ecosystem, and wrap up with the modern Himalayan lens. Okay, Section 1, the descent of Ganga, looking at the mythological origins. You see, to truly understand the physical place, we really have to begin in the realm of the gods. The story kicks off with a legendary figure, King Bhagirath. He was desperately seeking to free the souls of his 60,000 ancestors after they were burned to ash by a rather powerful sage's curse. According to the ancient texts, King Bhagirath actually performs an intense, mind-boggling 1,000-year penance. His one unwavering goal was to bring the divine river goddess Ganga down from heaven to wash over his ancestors' ashes and grant them salvation. But there's a catastrophic problem here. The goddess Ganga is so immense, so powerful, that her uninterrupted fall would literally crush the earth. The planet simply couldn't handle the impact. So Lord Shiva steps in to save the world. He catches the plunging, unstoppable celestial river right in his matted hair, taming her fury and then gently releasing her in smaller, much more manageable streams onto the rugged peaks of the Himalayas. Just think about that contrast for a second. Up in the heavens, Ganga is this unstoppable, world-ending celestial river. But here on Earth, she becomes the Bhagirathi, named right after our devoted King Bhagirath. What was once a cosmic torrent transforms into a gentle, life-giving headstream, carving its way through the Himalayan valleys. It's just a beautiful reconciliation between raw divine power and earthly nourishment. Because of that epic divine origin, the water itself is revered beyond measure. There's a local belief that beautifully captures this level of devotion. Drinking a single drop cleanses 1,000 years of sins, and taking a dip in it absolves the sins of 10,000 years. 10,000 years. Just let the gravity of that sink in for a moment. This profound promise of spiritual liberation is exactly why this incredibly remote, freezing Himalayan location has drawn literally millions of devoted pilgrims across the centuries. Imagine wanting absolution so badly that you'd walk for weeks into the freezing unknown. To them, it isn't just a river, it is liquid salvation. Moving on to Section 2, the sacred Gangotri Temple, grounding the myth. So, how do you worship a cosmic event of this magnitude in the physical world? Well, you build a monument. And wow, what a monument it is, sitting at a staggering 10,200 feet above sea level. That's an altitude where the air is incredibly thin, there's roughly 30% less oxygen than at sea level, and just walking a few feet can totally leave you breathless. The Gangotri Temple is an absolute marvel. Think about the sheer logistics required here. Hauling massive blocks of pristine white granite up into these treacherous, icy peaks to create a towering sanctuary. It's a staggering testament to human devotion. Every single stone placed up there is a triumph over extreme geography. But it wasn't always this massive granite structure. Originally, ancient sages just prayed in the open air at a riverside rock known as Bhagirath Shila. It was simple, raw devotion. Then, by the 18th century, the Gorkha general Amar Singh Thapa built the first formal stone temple to house the deity. Now, the Himalayas are an incredibly active, restless mountain range, so a massive earthquake in 1803 practically leveled the structure, violently reminding everyone who's really in charge. Yet, the devoted returned. In the 20th century, Maharaja Madho Singh of Jaipur fully restored it, resulting in the stunning 20-foot-tall Nagara-style architecture that proudly stands against those harsh elements today. But here is a super fascinating twist. While the temple is the focal point of worship today, and honestly the end of the road for a lot of people on the pilgrimage, the river's true physical source isn't actually right outside the temple doors. It's hidden much deeper, tucked away in the treacherous, freezing mountain terrain. Which brings us to Section 3, the Pilgrim's Journey, Seasons of Devotion. For those seeking the absolute physical beginning of the river, they have to travel beyond the safety of the temple, to the Gangamuk Glacier. It's a rugged, breathless, and honestly awe-inspiring 19-kilometer trek upstream from Gangotri, leading to a massive ice cave shaped remarkably like a cow's mouth. But you can't just make this journey whenever you feel like it. The Himalayan winters are absolutely brutal, burying the whole valley under feet of snow. Because of this, the pilgrimage is strictly seasonal. The doors open in the spring on Akshaya Tritiya to welcome the faithful, but come November, shortly after Diwali, the snows just become way too deep for anyone to survive. The temple completely closes, and in a really beautiful tradition, the goddess is physically moved down the mountain to a winter home in the nearby village of Mukba. The locals welcome her just like a daughter returning home. It's almost like a divine snowbird escaping the harshest winter freeze. What's really amazing is that even the modern infrastructure built to support these pilgrims is totally bound by the ancient epics. Take the Lanka Bridge, for example. It's this massive, high-altitude steel structure stretching over the vast gorge of the Ganga River. Yet, despite being a total marvel of modern engineering, it's named after a deeply revered legend from the Ramayana involving a sage's journey to the mythical island of Lanka. You literally cannot build a modern road or bridge up here without driving right through the heart of mythology. All right, Section 4, a fragile ecosystem, the environmental reality. This is where we pivot sharply from divine invincibility to profound physical fragility. As millions of people flock to this holy river each year seeking spiritual purity, their physical footprint becomes a massive, undeniable environmental concern. To protect this sacred source, the Indian government drew a massive line in the sand, or, well, rather the snow. They designated an enormous 4,179 square kilometer area, stretching all the way from the Gamuk Glacier down the valley as the Bhagirathi eco-sensitive zone. To put that into perspective, guys, that is a highly restricted, heavily protected watershed larger than the entire state of Rhode Island, and it's all strictly regulated just to save the lifeblood of the river. Within this vast zone, you find these incredibly sensitive micro-ecosystems known as bugiols. They are breathtaking high-altitude alpine meadows that somehow manage to bloom with vibrant, rare flora against this stark, rocky backdrop. But they live on a knife's edge. Because of the extreme, freezing conditions, the growing season is incredibly short. If thousands of pilgrims trample them or if there's heavy overgrazing, these delicate meadows don't just magically bounce back the next spring. That kind of damage can actually take decades to recover from. And it's not just the meadows at risk here. This harsh, freezing terrain within the Gangotri National Park is a thriving, albeit delicate, sanctuary. It's home to over 450 species of plants and incredibly rare, elusive wildlife, like the majestic snow leopard. These creatures have adapted to the brutal cold, for sure, but they rely entirely on the pristine, undisturbed nature of this frozen world to survive. Any imbalance in the ecosystem literally ripples all the way up the food chain. So managing this zone is an incredibly complex, high-stakes balancing act. This isn't just some empty wilderness devoid of humans. There are 88 local villages living right inside this ecozone, relying on the land. It requires tight master plans, local forest councils known as Van Panchayats, and incredibly strict ecotourism rules. The ultimate goal is to ensure that human life, the arrival of millions of pilgrims, and fragile nature can actually coexist without destroying the very source of the holy river they are all there to celebrate. Now for our final piece, Section 5, the modern Himalayan lens, filming and future. Let's bring this right up to the present day. Because of its immense cultural weight and stunning visual beauty, international media and film crews are constantly trying to journey into this sacred space to capture its magic and share it with the world. But let me tell you, bringing a modern production up into this environment is no joke. Far from the legendary invincibility of the gods we discussed earlier, human crews face their own intense physical frailty. You can't just drive up and start rolling the cameras. You need strict, agonizingly slow acclimatization schedules. You have to carry gammo bags, which are these portable hyperbaric chambers, just to treat severe altitude sickness in an emergency. You need specialized 4x4 vehicles to navigate crumbling cliffside roads. And on top of all that, you must adhere to mountains of complex government permits designed to keep the ecozone completely intact. There's a quote from a local production service working in this region that I absolutely love, and it perfectly sums up the humbling nature of this environment. They say, "For shoots in the deep Himalayas, standard production rules do not apply. Biology applies." It's so true. No matter our advanced technology, our massive budgets, or our modern ambitions, the mountain always dictates the terms. Which leaves us with this final thought. Gangotri represents a spectacular, ongoing collision between an indestructible cosmic myth and a highly destructible physical ecosystem. As we attempt to balance ancient, deeply rooted devotion with a rapidly changing climate and expanding human access, we have to ask ourselves, will modern conservation actually be enough to protect this divine landscape for the next millennium? It's a heavy question, and it's one that requires as much dedication from us today as King Bhagirath showed all those thousands of years ago. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you in the next one.